Ozzy, 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 oi, oi, oi. Now, everyone has their first foray into super heavy music from one band or another, and Parkway Drive were that band for me. First formed in 2003 in Byron Bay, New South Wales, Australia, Parkway have enjoyed success of one of the modern era's premier metal bands. Not surprising given how likeable they are, not just that, but a consistent lineup, constantly entertaining sound, and an ability to make things work within metalcore that really shouldn't. I feel like Parkway are going to be remembered in the future, which means it's time to go over the best and worst bits of their past. Now, let's face the music. We start with the band's debut album, Killing with a Smile. Released in 2005 through Resist Records, it was produced by your boy Adam Dukovic. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I've covered him before, so I don't know. Anyway, this is also the only album to feature bassist Sean Cash. And now, time for the background. Now, the band first formed in 2003, as I mentioned in the intro, taking their name from a live venue called the Parkway House. It was a good fit for them, as at the time there weren't a lot of venues for heavy styles of music in Australia, so for a band like Parkway to have a home like that, it's a good little nod, and it's honestly pretty sweet if you think about it. PWD played their first show at the Byron Bay Youth Centre when Michael Crafter, lead singer of fellow Australian metal band I Killed the Prom Queen, was visiting, and he became impressed with the band. Parkway and Prom Queen released a split CD in June 2003, and both bands toured their homeland for the rest of that year. Parkway Drive would soon sign to Resist Records, releasing the Don't Close Your Eyes EP in 2004, and touring with the likes of Alexis on Fire, Shadows Fall, and Hatebreed, all big names in the metal/hardcore punk scene. Going back to Parkway, their original lineup was lead singer Winston McCall, guitarists Jeff Ling and Luke Pick Kilpatrick, bassist Brett Versteeg, and drummer Ben Gaz Gordon. Brett left and was replaced by Sean Cash, and after that replacement, the band flew to the US of America to record Killing with a Smile in the space of just 2 weeks. First The Offspring and now Parkway. Damn, debuts get done fast in this series. Still, it is impressive. For a band like Parkway who were doing something different with metalcore at the time, to fly over to America and work with one of arguably the best metal music producers/musicians of the modern era, that is a pretty big accolade, I think. Anyway, in 2006, the band flew from America to Europe and back again to promote the album, and along the way, Sean Cash left the band with their full support and was replaced by Gia Pye O'Connor, who was their merch guy at the time, as well as a fan of the band. In June 2006, the band signed to Epitaph and re-released Killing with a Smile in September that year, about a year after the original version came out. I don't really know or care which version I heard for this, because this album is a solid bit of work. It's constructed well with solid structuring and pacing to it, and the lyrics cover religion, betrayal, love, and death. And the band kill it, no pun intended. Winston's vocals are guttural, gritted, and pack a lot of punch. Jeff and Pick hand out chugging riffs and slick solos from the former. Sean's bass is deep, weighty, and toned, and Gaz's drumming is fast, balanced, and furious. Standout songs include Smoke 'em If You've Got 'em, Mutiny, Romance is Dead, Guns for Show, Noise for a Pro, and my favourite, and Pandora. With awesome production, a risky take, and a heavy, in-your-face pace and sound, Killing with a Smile is a great debut, and I can recommend this one. We then reached their second album, Horizons. Released in 2007 through Resist and Epitaph, it would be their last to be produced by Adam Dukovic, and it's also the band's shortest album at 38 minutes and 35 seconds. It would also be their first with Gia O'Connor on bass permanently, and it features some guests as guitarist Slowhand Two Dicks, which is not a real name, plays a solo on the song Breaking Point, and singer Peter Bordy of the band Level appears on the song Dead Man's Chest. Now, onto the background. Now, obviously, one of the songs is named after Guy Ritchie's film Snatch, namely Feed Them to the Pigs, much like the band had film references in their debut. Dead Man's Chest is taken from the Pirates of the Caribbean film with the same name, and in all honesty, that does sort of fit the theme of the album. I don't know if it's a concept album, but it seems sort of themed around sailing and water, I guess, maybe as a metaphor for a journey. Just saying, songs with names like Siren Song, Idols and Anchors, the title track, Dead Man's Chest, Carry On, Boneyards, 5 Months. The band didn't really have a concept to this album, but they had a theme at least, and it's pretty well brought across. That theme would carry on through some future stuff too, but we'll get to that when we get to it. It's no surprise that this album was a pretty big hit, though. It's surprisingly easy to get into, and that's no doubt due to Adam's difficult surname's great knack for production. There's a surprising amount of melody added to it, and I didn't get a chance to say this about their first album, but it almost has a While She Sleeps vibe to it, in that, while it does have choruses and verses, they're not structured traditionally, and it really works here. It works so well that the touring opportunities are pretty good too. They hit up their homeland Australia again before going over to Europe to tour with the bands like Cancer Bats and Comeback Kid in late 2007. Throughout 2008, they shared the stage with the likes of Every Time I Die and Killswitch Engage and The Dillinger Escape Plan and Darkest Hour. And in 2009, they toured alongside Stick to Your Guns and My Children, My Bride. So, yeah, no surprise about how good this album is. The structuring is damn near unbreakable, it's got amazing drive to it and amazing production as well. And the lyrics cover death, fear, love, sorrow and loss, and once again it all feels really personal, and the band are also brilliant too. Winston's vocals growl and tear through the course of the album. Jeff and Luke shred and shred hard. Gia's bass carries good punch and weight, and Gaz's drumming is hard, hefty, and meaty. I like meaty stuff. Weird. Standout songs include Carry On, Boneyard, the closing title track, Dead Man's Chest, and my favourite in Idols and Anchors. Horizons has great production, solid writing and lyrics, great tone, and brilliant performances, and yeah, no surprise, I can recommend this one as well. We then reach their third album, Deep Blue. Released in 2010 through Resist and Epitaph, we get a new producer in Joe Barresi. This was also my first full Parkway Drive album, and it contains my first full Parkway Drive song in Sleepwalker. We also have some guest stars as guitarist Brett Gurewitz of Bad Religion and vocalist Marshall Lichtenwald of the band The Warriors, appearing on the songs Home is for the Heartless and Hollow respectively. Now, onto the background. Now, the album was recorded just about a month, and it was written over the course of 6 months, and it has a loose concept to it, much like Horizons did. This album concept seems to be about a man losing his faith in everything, so he goes on a journey to try and find something to believe in about himself, and the journey takes him to the depths of the ocean, hence the album's title. It's a surprisingly uplifting theme for such a brutal band, but hey, it works. Anyway, after the album came out, the band performed on the Warped Tour in 2010 from June to August, and in early 2011 they headlined a US tour alongside Set Your Goals. In May of that year, they headlined the Mix and Match Tour in the native Australia, supported by the Wonder Years, Bleeding Through and Confession, and Jimmy at Six was supposed to support too, but they pulled out. The album wasn't just that good, though. It went gold according to the Australian Recording Industry Association charts, or just ARIA charts for short. Speaking of ARIA, not Stark, Deep Blue was nominated for Best Hard Rock, Best Heavy Metal Album, winning that actual award. They even got the Australian Independent Record Award for Best Hard Rock or Punk Album too, so I guess I don't have to tell you guys that the album is good. But still, I'm going to tell you, it is good. Not just that, but it's successful, and it holds a place in my heart for being the first super heavy metal album that I ever listened to. It's organic and dynamic and it flows so well, the songs never blend and just feel like Parkway Drive songs, and considering that it didn't take long to get this album recorded, that's really saying something. The structure and core sound have real brutality and weight to them without lacking a good melody here and there, and the lyrics cover self-belief, loss, pain, and struggling all to a really good degree that really helps the overall concept and the band and their sledges themselves. Winston's singing is absolutely amazing here with a great range. Well, I say singing, screaming. Jeff Owen's guitar work is chock full of awesome riffs and solos. Gia's bass continues to go deep and rough, and Gaz's drumming pummels hard and fast through the album. Standout songs include Sleepwalker, Deadweight, Karma, Leviathan Eye, and my favourite is Home is for the Heartless. All in all, Deep Blue is executed brilliantly with smart writing and production tricks, and I can recommend this one. We then move on to the band's fourth album, Atlas. Released in 2012 through Resist and Epitaph again, we get a new producer in Matt Hyde for this one. Also, this was the first Parkway Drive album that I listened to when it came out, as it got to Deep Blue about a year after it was released. Now, background. Yay! Now, throughout late 2011, the band did have a slight issue as the guitarist Luke Kilpatrick suffered a broken leg during a surfing accident. He still toured with the band and played with them, but he was in a wheelchair for most of that time. Still, the band came back pretty strong despite this. In July 2012, they released their first DVD, Home is for the Heartless. I wonder if Brett Gurewitz had anything to do with that one. Anyway, the band finished up a UK/Europe tour before stepping into the studio, recording the album for most of the summer. In September 2012, they released a single, Dog Days, and almost a week after, they teased a new song titled Logo/New Regrets, which was soon released on Epitaph's YouTube channel in October, about 10 days before the album's official release. The album was fully streamed on October 23rd by Epitaph before officially hitting the shelves 3 days later. After the album was released, the band toured in late 2012 with bands such as The Word Life and Muir and Structures. In December, PWD toured around Australia and New Zealand, continuing to tour throughout 2013, even to the point of being part of Warped Tour Australia in November and December of that year. So yeah. This album is a pretty unique one. It's the first to have some flavourings of clean singing since their debut, but it has a lot of heaviness to balance it out. There's no huge concept to it either, and the band started to experiment with their sound here, using a small choir, piano, cello, violin, trumpet, and turntables, and more gang vocals as well, something that would bleed into their next two albums. But it all works. I honestly think this is my favourite album by Parkway Drive, mostly because it works in those elements so damn well, while somehow being a darker piece, despite not having a narrative to it like Deep Blue or Horizons did. Now, as I've mentioned many times, in 2012 I started getting into heavy styles of music as it was, but for a band who I liked already to put out something like Atlas, this was the album that made me care about Parkway Drive. The album is still brutal and heavy, and the amazing pacing and tone work so well together, adding a lot of balance. The lyrics cover violence, belief, truth, and war, making it a little bit more political, and the band all sound great as well, obviously. Winston's vocals still have a lot of grit and impact to them. Jeff and Pick's guitar work stellar with good melodies and solos and such. Gia's bass is more pronounced this time around, still sounds nice and deep, and Gaz's drumming gallops along at a great furious pace. Standout songs include Dark Days, Sleight of Hand, Snake Oil and Holy Water, The Slight Surrender, and my favourite in Wild Eyes. Atlas is dark but surprisingly uplifting, with weight and grip behind it and really good production. And yeah, I can recommend it. It's awesome. We then reached their fifth album, Aya. Released in 2015 through Resist and Epitaph, we have a new producer in George Hatchikristu. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's also the band's longest album at 48 minutes and 24 seconds. Now, background. Ooh. The band announced that they were working on the album in early 2014, and by June the next year, they posted a teaser sort of thing on Instagram, and a few days later, the album's cover and title were leaked online. 4 days after the leak, Parkway Drive released their first single in voice script, which was a good indication of the shift in sound, as was the next single titled Crushed. Now, the former has a more classic metal feel, and the latter has some new metal tinges, even to the point of people comparing it to Rage Against the Machine. The album, all in all, is a really good follow-up to what the band did on Atlas, with its more experimental nature being apparent from the start. I'll talk more about that later, but it is worth bringing up a little bit now. The band did a huge tour for it, going to Australia, North America, and Europe, and making a one-stop show in Auckland. In Australia, Memphis by far the word Live and Die Artist Murder supported, and TAIM would also support Parkway Drive for the American leg of the tour, alongside Miss May I and In Hot Wake. Lastly, Barry Tomorrow held their Parkway Drive in the UK, Architects held them in Europe, and Die Artist Murder was there in Europe as well. Good on you, Die Artist Murder, you're really good friends. However, Suicide Silence were meant to support on the Australian leg of the tour, but they dropped out to support Korn during their 20th anniversary tour. Priorities and all that. Now, with those touring opportunities, I'm not surprised this album is pretty good. I definitely like it more the second time I heard it, because I remember enjoying it the first time, but not as much as I wanted to. A lot's changed in 4 years, apparently, because I like it a lot more now. Maybe it's because of how much more surprised I am now when it comes to backtracking. I'm more used to bands I listen to experimenting with their sacrificing integrity, as we'll get to when we talk about their next album. But yeah, the structuring here is really well handled, with good balance to everything and nothing sounding too smooth. And the lyrics get more serious, covering politics, false leaders, violence, and crime. All the band played up well too. Winston continues to crush it with his singing and screaming, adding more unique stuff. Jeff and Big have great riffs, breakdowns, and some good solos by the former. Jay's bass still sounds good with noise drives and riffs, and Guys' drumming still heavy, speedy, and meaty, and hard, and good and stuff. Standout songs include Crushed, Fractures, Dying to Believe, The Sound of Violence, and my favourite in Writings on the Wall. A slight veer for the norm is what the band needed at the time, and it works in almost every way, with great lyrics, instrumentation, production, and performances to boot. Yeah, I can recommend this one, even if me from 4 years ago might not have been able to. But yeah, really good. And finally, we reached the band's sixth album, Reverence. Released in 2018 through Resist and Epitaph, it was again produced by George Hatchikristu. There's no way I'm saying that correctly. Now onto the background. The band first released the single Wishing Wells in February 2018, and a month later they announced Reverence as released with Byron Bay, where they also released their second single titled The Void, with Pray soon becoming a single as well. The album's cover is actually one of my favourites I think I've ever covered, as it's a restored version of the religious painting The Fall of the Damned by Peter Paul Rubens. The cover is a pretty good indication as to the album's theme. Like Horizons, it's not got an overarching concept, but it does deal with the darker sides of faith and belief systems. Once again, because it's shifted in the sound, it does have more clean singing, probably the most on any Parkway Drive album, and has a more throwback metal sound like I did, but with more Parkway Drive signature aggressive flair and brutal storytelling. You can't deny that the album did well, though. It became the band's second #1 album in a row in ARIA's music charts, and it did so well that it won the band their second ARIA award for Best Hard Rock/Heavy Metal Album, the first being Deep Blue, which charted #2. Bizarrely, Aya charted #1 as well. No award for Aya, though. Still, this album deserves that accolade, I think, and the band got some good touring out of it too, hitting up North America again with August Burns Red and the Devil Wears Prada, starting in San Diego and ending in Hollywood. But let's go back to the album sound and production. Shall we? We shall. I'm messing this up. It is still heavy and maintains a brutal pace, picking up on Aya's slower moments, and it didn't even have that many. It still maintains the experimental lilt of Aya and Atlas, and this may be a personal thing, but I feel like this album should have followed Atlas, then Aya after Reverence. Just a personal thing, but still, I like what the band did regardless. Don't get mad. The production has a nice feel to it on this album, and it feels more organic, and the usage of more strings, piano, and gang vocals really add a more epic scope to things. A lot of people might take that for granted, but I dig it. The album's pace and structure is solid, knowing when to go hard and when to hold back, and the lyrics covering religious frailty, loss of families, fallible gods, and the closing track even talking about the deaths of Tom Saul from Architects as all Winston Stark had passed away. It's some pretty serious stuff. And something I didn't write in the script, but something I saw as a YouTube comment when I was actually looking at the last track, The Color of Leaving. Apparently, Winston broke down at least 4 or 5 times while recording, and they used the last one because it was the one where he cried the least. So that does add a That does add a little bit more emotion to it, and I actually quite like it. So yeah, on to the rest of the stuff now. Obviously, the band did well. Winston still sounds fantastic with great screams, but surprisingly good clean singing too. Well, not that surprising. Jeff and Luke's guitar work has some good breakdowns, and solid solos. Gia's bass is pronounced, thick, and toned, and Ben's drumming is hard-heavy and guides the way really well. Some of the songs include Wishing Well, The Void, In Blood, Cemetery Bloom, and my favourite in the closing track, The Colour of Leaving. Reverence is daring and challenging, dark and engrossing all at the same time, with the production and solid writing and performances adding it all up well. I can recommend this one. Sorry. Now, let's round them up. My most favourite is probably Atlas, I think. I just think it's the perfect showing of the more experimental stuff, but also their darkest, heaviest, and maybe most fun and accessible piece. Least favourite is maybe Killing with a Smile, but I don't hate it. It's a debut, and debuts aren't always perfect. The band was still heavy, but not quite the innovators that they are 10 years later. A lot can change in a decade. I guess that's all part of the karma of it, though. Anyway, join me next time where I cover Brighton, England's own, the Chemists. The Chemists with a Q. That counts for the alphabetical theme of this season. And also, before I actually sign off, I want to say thank you to everyone who viewed my PBW stream last night. I'm glad it actually went off without a hitch. For a change compared to the previous one, which had to be restarted at least twice, so yeah. Still, all worked out, and as always, I'll see you all probably soon for the Chemist episode. That one's not going to take that long, I don't think. Anyway, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye-bye.